to see everyone here, and I know there are several events going on in the community, and so it's just wonderful that we're able to get so many people here to join us this evening. This is our 22nd annual banquet. I have not been a member since the beginning, but I have been a member for, I think, a little over 8 years. We do value your continued support, and we truly are honored and delighted that you're all here this evening. I'm just so thankful to be part of an organization which has truly stood the test of time. An organization which does not by any means shy away from addressing problematic issues facing our community. Any decision to endorse a candidate or a proposal is always a well-informed one. APAC is comprised of students, various professionals, business owners, public officials, and the list goes on. Every member's input is relevant regardless of one's political stance, age, or gender. Even non-APAC community members are always encouraged to attend APAC discussions and presentations regarding proposals or candidates. As APAC members, we are all volunteers, offering our time, experience, and skill to do whatever we can for the benefit of the community. The entire membership is always invited to provide varying perspectives when analyzing political and community issues, all before we endorse. APAC empowers the community to be actively engaged in politics. It has stood at the forefront of several issues, especially those surrounding our children in public schools. Simply put, the community comes first. This year is definitely no exception. And you'll hear more about the bond affecting our public schools this evening. Our organization would not be what it is without APAC's members, volunteers, and all of you here. I'd like to thank the dinner committee for planning this amazing dinner. Most importantly, thank you to APAC's founding member and current chair of the Bylaws Committee, Attorney Abid Hammoud, for your vision and continued leadership. I really can't thank you enough for all that you do for this organization. And I just can't tell you what an amazing individual he is. He is so helpful, so gracious, and I'm very blessed that he's the founder of this organization and that I'm able to be a part of it. And of course, I cannot leave out Osama Sablani, publisher of the Arab American News and APAC's Public Relations Chair. Osama, your guidance is indispensable. Your kindness is unmatched, and we're so lucky to have you as well. He offers his office for our meetings, and he never says no. I just say, we need to have a meeting on this day, and he says, sure. And he responds right away, as busy as he is. So I'm very thankful for you, Osama.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you all for coming to our 22nd annual dinner. Seems like yesterday we started. Before I do what I'm supposed to do here, he called me up to introduce our next speaker. I want to add something to Mona Fadlalah's, our president's speech, because when you start naming people, you always forget somebody, and she did forget something. And one of the things, before I say who she forgot, one of the things I'm most proud of this organization is not only its current members, former members, but what we produce, the quality of the members we have, but also the appointments and the positions they got to. A good friend of ours, I believe it's Ali Jawad, who said one day, APAC is becoming like a school that graduates very good public servants and successful people. And Mona did mention the members who left us because they became judges, but she mentioned one only, and she forgot Judge Hilal Farhat, who is also a member of APAC, that he got appointed. And I can go on about the people who are members of APAC who hold public office or did hold public office or about to hold public office. Council President Pro Tem Mike Sarahini also is a member of APAC. Many people don't realize who are members of APAC because they think of them just as elected officials. In any case, I'm here to introduce our next speaker, Dan Lemish. I'm gonna try not to be too biased because, for lack of a better term, I'm a big fan of Dan, and he's a good friend of mine and a mentor too. Attorney Dan Lemish spent many years in public service before recently, 2018, leaving the government to work as a general counsel for Lakeview Capital. There's so much I can say about him, but I'm going to be brief. Dan served the last position in government. He served as the acting United States Attorney in the Eastern District of Michigan after former U.S. Attorney Barbara McQuaid the term his resignation was really his forced resignation by President Trump. So Dan was the chief assistant and took over the office until the appointment of the current U.S. Attorney Matthew Schneider. Before that, he served about 19 years in the office, the U.S. Attorney's office, holding many positions, criminal chief and also chief assistant, as I said. He also prosecuted a wide range of cases, from public corruption, white-collar crime, healthcare fraud, narcotics, you name it. Before that, actually, Dan was a Oakland County prosecutor for 8 years, so he has a long career of public service. Dan also, one of the most famous things about Dan, he's internationally known to be a lecturer for the Justice Department around the world, literally, in areas of criminal justice reform and other subjects for many countries. He's been to many countries, including many in the Middle East. In fact, in 2008, Dan served as the legal advisor for the United States Justice Department and State Department in Belgrade. And of course, one of you said, oh my God, Belgrade 2008, because Belgrade in 2008, the United States Embassy was attacked and burned because the role the US played in Kosovo, and Dan had to be evacuated with his family. So he served in difficult times overseas, and for that we thank him.
Good evening, everyone. It is a real pleasure to be here with you tonight, and I thank my dear friend and colleague and co-professor Abed Hammoud for asking me to speak with you tonight. As Abed mentioned, I was a prosecutor for 27 years, and I suppose that gives me somewhat of a credential to say that I'm kind of a law enforcement guy. But it may not be the kind of law enforcement that you initially think of. I am not here to tell you that everybody who is a heroin addict deserves to go to prison, or everyone caught selling a rock of crack cocaine deserves to be a felon, or everybody caught with a gun in their car needs to go to prison. There are other laws that I am equally as proud to enforce, in particular, civil rights laws. And the two of my favorite cases that I ever worked on in my career affected this community, and I am the most proud of them, and I want to talk about them. Because Abed asked me to speak to you tonight somewhat about impeachment, and I will address that slightly, but to get there, I just want to talk about two of my favorite cases. And they both were related, and we brought them both at the same time. One involved a group that wanted to build an Islamic center in Pittsfield Township, out near Ann Arbor. The other involved a group that wanted to build a mosque in Sterling Heights. And the city fathers in both of those communities and the zoning commissions in both of those communities denied their requests. And they came up with reasons like the number of parking spaces compared to the number of people using the buildings was going to be too low, and it would cause traffic problems. The traffic patterns in the area would be disrupted by these places. In the case of Sterling Heights, they said the height of the minarets were too tall for the community. Our office got involved, and you know what law enforcement and investigators can do? They investigate. They interview people. They put people under oath, under the penalty of perjury. They issue subpoenas. They gather documents. They review evidence. And we try to get to the truth. And there generally is a truth. When you put all the noise and argument aside, there is a truth. And the truth that turned out in these cases was the ratio of parking spaces to the buildings compared to the neighborhood were actually more. There were more parking spaces than in the other neighboring buildings. The traffic patterns were no different than if any other business were to come into those neighborhoods. The height of the minarets in Sterling Heights were actually lower than churches in the area. So what became very obvious to us was that these enterprises were zoned out of existence for a pretext. In other words, they gave excuses as to why these places couldn't be built. They were pretexts. They really didn't want them built because they did not want people of the Muslim faith worshiping and gathering in their communities. And you know what? That's illegal. That's against the law in this country. That violates our United States Constitution that entitles all of us to worship as we wish, to live where we want, to do business where we want, to freely associate with who we want. And we enforced that law, and we won. And there is an Islamic center in Pittsfield Township now, and they're still building the mosque in Sterling Heights, but it's being built.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just adjust that. So about APAC's endorsement process, it's spelled out in detail in its bylaws, and it must be strictly adhered to by the members before a candidate is endorsed. Candidates for public office who seek APAC endorsements must do so in writing. The endorsement committee will then The endorsement committee will then review these requests and schedule interviews with the candidates. APAC bylaws does not mandate the interviews, but they are part of the process, especially with the candidates who are new to our organization. The committee will then report to the general membership before the endorsement vote, which can only take place after all the members in good standing are notified in writing 1 week in advance of the date, time, and place of the vote. There can be no surprise endorsement votes. Only members in good standing are allowed to vote. Candidates must obtain the votes of 2/3 of the members attending the meeting in order to be endorsed. Non-members may also participate by providing information that could sway the vote, which depends on their arguments and evidence to back that up. So this year, APAC members endorsed the following candidates. For Dearborn Heights City Council, Dave Abdullah, who is APAC's Vice President. Lisa Hicks Clayton. For Westland City Council, Timothy Gilbert. James Goodboe. For Inkster Mayor, Byron Nolan. For Inkster City Council, Legina Washington. Aaron Sims. And for Dearborn Schools Bricks Bond, APAC endorse a vote yes. And speaking of Dearborn Schools Bond, I am pleased to call up someone who needs no introduction, of course, APAC's Vice President, Michigan Solicitor General, former Dearborn Board of Education member, and low-key superwoman, Sadwa Hamoud.
All right, good evening, everyone. I don't blame Ali for forgetting me. It happens often nowadays. I saw him today, and he's like, "You look familiar." I'm like, "Salam, Fatwa." So we wait for occasions to see each other, which is not bad, because we do have, an event and occasion here in Dearborn 3 times a week. So good to see you all again. But this is definitely, I would say, my personal favorite dinner. This is my family, and so happy and honored to be before you today. I address you today in my personal capacity, even though I'm extremely proud to serve with the Department of Attorney General for the best Attorney General that this state has ever seen, Attorney General Dana Nessel. And proud to say that I think for the first time at APAC here, we actually have a table that is full from our Attorney General's office with employees here from the Attorney General's office in Lansing supporting this community, and it's the first time I've seen this, so thank you for being here tonight. However, tonight I'm addressing you in my personal capacity. I'm addressing you as a community member, as a mother, as a vice president of APAC. as a former school board trustee, but as a member of this organization that was literally born out of the fight for our schools and public education. And speaking of education, here is an important yet very devastating fact. The state of Michigan's education funding growth ranks bottom of all states. Yet, I did read an article in the Press and Guide to give you some good news. Dearborn actually ranks third in the best trick-or-treating city in the country. So, that's pretty sweet, but we have to get our priorities straight, and those are devastating facts. Let's talk about the upcoming vote on November 5th. The BRICS bond is going to be on the ballot, and the choice we face is not simply about school funding. We face a moral choice about what type of city and society we want our neighbors and our children to be in here in Dearborn. Will we be a city that affirms its commitment to the common good, or will we abandon the idea that we are all in this together? APAC members affirmed their commitment to the common good with an endorsement of a yes vote on the BRICS bond proposal, and I am proud of this organization for standing for education time and time again.
Thank you all for supporting APAC for 22 years in a row. We appreciate your presence and support. And you know, we do work hard because we know that we have a strong community behind us and with us all the time. I do not need to tell you about the progress that we've made in this community because you can just feel it. Look around you and see how many people we have in office today, how many people are moving forward in all sectors, in all segments of our community, and in all the state, from the governor's office all the way to the city council or the Board of Education, whether it's in Hamtramck, Inkster, Westland, Dearborn Heights, Dearborn, everywhere. So APAC has been doing the work, but we cannot do it without you. So thank you for coming today. But let me first salute the Lebanese people who are standing outside and protesting and demanding an end to corruption in one of the most beautiful nations on the face of this earth. And they have to know that we support them, we stand with them, we need to end corruption and bring decency to the Lebanese citizens because they deserve it. We have 5 people who we have endorsed, and there are many who are out there that they need your support. Please support the people who we endorse, and in particular stand up and support and go on November 5 and vote yes on the BRICS, the Dearborn Public School bond. APAC, like Fedwa said, let the fight. Just let me remind you, just take 1 minute and tell you, in 2002, we rejected a bond for $50 million. Single-handedly, APAC and the Arab American News. 2000? 99 and 2000. So I have the prosecutor in here, the attorney. So we defeated the bond the first time, we defeated the bond the second time because they underestimated our resolve. We said $50 million is not enough. And we supported a bond for $150 million and it passed. And we built schools, Gear Park, McAuliffe Unit.
Were it not for the support of APAC and of this community in particular, I would not be Attorney General of the state of Michigan. The fact of the matter is, had you not supported me, the person who would be in that position would be a man who was endorsed by not one, but 2 anti-Arab American hate groups. But instead of him, you got me. And I would say that's a good thing. And, you know, I went into this office with, well, with a bunch of different promises. But some of the promises that I made you were this. One is that we would be a department that really cared again about equal protection under the law for all communities and all people in this state. And that second, we would be a state office that properly reflected the great diversity of the state of Michigan. And we've tried to accomplish both of those things. And as I guess I've ruined the surprise by now, you know that my Solicitor General is the amazing Fadwa Mahmood. And she is the first state Solicitor General who is Muslim in American history. But let me say this, that's not why I appointed Fadwa to that position. I appointed her Solicitor General because I wanted to have the very best attorney that I knew representing the state of Michigan in its biggest and most important cases. And to me, that person was Fadwa. And you should clap for that. And, you know, she, alongside Prosecutor Kim Worthy, are handling the Flint cases. And that's just one of the many important roles that she plays in my office.
Thank you. Thank you, aapac, for the honor tonight. I'm going to make this short and sweet because this isn't my forte, but I can honestly say that I see so many of you here tonight that have assisted me with the outreach work that I do. And I want you all to know that I share this with each and every one of you.
All right, good evening, everybody. Osama, thank you. I did want to recognize one of my colleagues that we came in. Councilwoman Leslie Herrick came in today. Can you stand up? Thank you for being here, Leslie. I really appreciate it. You know, when they called and asked, well, when Abed calls and asks you to do anything, you really got not much choice. But I just say, Abed, who you want? Who is it? Well, Abdullah Hamoud. Well, I mean, that's about as easy it could be for me. Abdullah's a good friend, good man, and I'd like to honor him tonight. He is the awardee tonight for the aapac Public Service Award. And I can tell you guys this award is not something that's given out lightly. As you see, aapac has a tremendous membership of people that are highly educated, and they do take their job seriously. So when they do endorsement interviews or when they talk to politicians, people seeking office or people in office, they do hold them accountable. So Abdullah, this is a tremendous award that you were able to receive tonight, because to get this award at aapac, it means what you said you were going to do, you actually did. And I can't think of anybody better. Abdullah, for a little bit of his background here, is serving his second term as the Michigan House of Representatives, 15th District, which is our home in Dearborn where he grew up. He's also earned his degree right here at the University of Michigan, and then also went on and received his master's degree in public health at the University of Michigan and Ann Arbor. He was also, in 2014, nominated and elected as the youngest board member for Michigan League of Conservative Voters. Conservation and politics.
I'm a Democrat.
Yeah.
I'll be very short, I promise. First and foremost, thank you all so much, but I'll accept this on behalf of the community, because nothing that I do, I've done alone. I think as somebody who was born and raised here, as a proud McDonald Panther, as a proud Woodworth Hornet, as a proud Fordson Tractor, as a proud dual enrolled student at Henry Ford Community College and Bradley University of Michigan Dearborn, I can point to almost every single table in this room and identify several individuals who have contributed to my success, whose shoulders I have stood on, and who have raised me. because it's not easy to do the right thing when you're in office, but it's easy to do the right thing when you're fighting for home. And there's nothing like fighting for home. And Dearborn is the greatest city, not only in the state of Michigan, but in the whole world. And there's no place I'd rather call home than Dearborn. And so thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity of serving you, and hopefully there's a few more years left.
Okay. Hudud Farhad, we're awarding him tonight for the Community Service Award. He's a public speaker, an advocate, and an activist. He currently serves as a liaison for the Dearborn Public Schools. And he emigrated here from Lebanon with his parents only 10 years ago as a teenager. He attended Lincoln Park High School, and he obtained his bachelor's degree in political science from the University of Michigan, Dearborn. While at U of M Dearborn, Hudud made it a point to, after noticing himself that there was improper signage when it came to the visually impaired, he took it to the administration, and he made sure that the signage, the braille signage that was currently there was corrected, and that where it was missing, he made sure that the school actually put up braille signs. And for this, the university actually was just very proud to have Hudud as a student at his school. He even had the school, he recommended a wheelchair lift for campus transportation. And for that, he received a certificate of appreciation from the University of Michigan's Neubacher Award Committee. That's just one of many accolades that Hudud has received throughout the years. His passion for promoting equitable policies is obvious. He's a motivational speaker. He addresses schools, colleges, universities, and community members, spreading awareness regarding individuals with disabilities. In addition, he has worked on several local, state, and national initiatives that aim to enhance the lives of all Americans through advocacy. Hudud is clever and courteous. His infectious smile lights up the room, and he may have visual limitations, but his inherent sense of humanity has no boundaries. It is this humanity that guides him to lead and favorably effectuate change for the good of all. Please help me welcome Hudud Farhad.
Hi, everybody. Hey. I want to thank you so much for this introduction that I don't deserve. I believe that I am doing the least that I can do. It's a humanitarian obligation to serve in whatever we can serve and whatever we can offer. I'd like to thank AAPAC for this wonderful recognition. I'm humble and privileged. Thank you also for fighting on behalf of our community for the past 22 years. We came a long way and the best is yet to come. I'd like just to say one thing, that yes, I am sorry to, I'd like to say sorry to each and every single public official if I have invaded their email, their text messages, their mailboxes, always asking and checking on different policies regarding disabilities, visually impaired people, seniors, union members, whoever that I can land on. That's why I chose political science, guys, because I know that in order to make the biggest change, it has to be where the game is played. I can't change the rules if I'm sitting on the sideline. I have to be in the middle of the field. So for that, I'm blessed to serve. I'm blessed to be part of this wonderful community. Thank you for all your support. Without you, I could have not done it. And have a good night. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Sam. Good evening, everybody. Masa al khair. I'm the last thing before dinner, so I'll keep it not too short. It is, I go around the country and the world, and I get to do what I do as far as comedy and activism, but there's nothing more special than being recognized in your own neighborhood by your own community, so I'm deeply honored and humbled by this award here tonight. I am the Arab son of a Palestinian Christian dad and a Palestinian Muslim mom. I know that's haram, I don't know if the sheikh left, but my grandfather's names are Ilyas and Muhammad, which confuses Arabs and the Israeli border control whenever I meet them. My parents and grandparents all became refugees, sometimes more than once, Many in the room today, raise your hand if you're a Palestinian refugee or the descendant of a Palestinian refugee. Look at all these people. These are the people who we are fighting for and their stories when we are fighting out there on behalf of Palestine. It's that tradition of dispossession, displacement, and injustice that directs my art and activism, including my support of Bernie Sanders. A lot of people think it's weird that Arabs support Jews, like we support Bernie Sanders and we support Dana Nessel, and it's not weird. We love everybody. We don't judge anybody based on their religion or their ethnicity like people do to us. And Arabs and Jews are the same. We're both big nose, crazy mom, hairy, that's men and women, and we're the same. The only difference, Dana, is you're chosen by God and we're chosen by the FBI. That's the only difference. See what's happening? Right. Palestine, as we all know, is at the center of the Arab American experience. It is that lies still in the heart of every Arab, whether they are Palestinian, Lebanese, Yemeni, Iraqi, no matter who they are here in our community or anything else. And for too long, Palestine has been seen in our community as sort of like a liability in the political arena. But I see it as my job to let everyone know, whether they're Arab or not, that saying free, free Palestine is not just the right thing to do, but it's good politics too. And we have done enough work to establish ourselves in this city and in this state to say it loudly. That means when a candidate tells us that she fully supports the denial of our rights to boycott Israel, we don't have to shy from her. We can confidently say to her, free, free Palestine. That means when both of our senators vote for a bill that outrageously funds Israel's military and denounces the BDS movement, we can, in their faces, also say, free, free Palestine. That means when Congress people, even when we consider them family and they're our close friends, make public moves that hurt the Palestinian cause, we can confidently say to them, free, free Palestine. Our love for Palestine is not something we need to place on the back burner. It's not something that we need to be careful about when introducing, because it's at the center of every Arab's heart. And to my non-Arab friends in the room, which we have many tonight, if you stand against apartheid South Africa, if you stood against apartheid Jim Crow in this country, if you stand against the unjustified killing of unarmed black citizens, then it's time to stand up against the racist Israeli state and what it's doing to us today. So, dear brothers and sisters, finally, I'm done now. It is time to place Palestine at the tip of our tongues at every turn. And yes, that does mean you have to ask yourself some questions. Are you willing to sacrifice a photo with a politician to stand up for Palestine? Are you willing to piss off a politician to stand up for Palestine? Are you willing to be disliked by a politician to stand up for Palestine? I am, and I hope the rest of you are too, and I'll keep pushing all of us to do so. We are now at the point where we can shake less hands, snap less photos, and kick more asses. Maybe then they will respect us. And I'm done now, Osama. And finally, I'll say this. My philosophy on political activism is quite simple. It's very simple. It was first spoken by the most famous Palestinian of all time. That's not Gigi Hadid, it is Jesus. He was one of us. For everyone, he's not blonde hair and blue eyes. He looked like Osama 20 years ago. So, when Jesus was confronted by occupation and tyranny and in the face of injustice, he looked at everyone very loudly and he said, "That which you do to the least of my brethren, you do to me." So I consider all of you my brethren. I love you all. Everybody in this room, I love you all. Shukran, good night, and we'll see you again soon. Billy Messi.